I know there's a lot of head knocks and ACLs and players getting injured for the season. How can we change the rules in the AFL of making it better for people now?
Yeah, those concussions are a real worry, and you can see the AFL's trying to do something about it, and they're getting a lot of criticism. But it's a real worry, and we have to find something. And I think we're stopping players' behaviour is happening slowly. So you're not getting that thing where people are getting thrown into the ground. That's sort of being eradicated. So I've just got to keep trying and just stop some of the attitudes. So one of the things, for instance, that old players who are commentators now like saying things like, he made him earn it, when someone goes, someone takes a mark and someone punches them in the back of the head, as though that was a good thing for the punching someone in the back of the head is a good thing, or dumping them heavily is a good thing. We've just got to get that attitude out and just sort of be able to play play hard and with courage, but without being stupid.
What do you think of Monday's last game? That I know we lost against Collingwood. I think you probably watched it against Collingwood. Should they make a statue of him?
I would, yeah. I'd make a statue of David
Coburn?
Yeah, I'd make one. But then you'd have to have the statue of Pav too. You'd have, you don't want to be putting one above the other. But he was fantastic.
Yeah.
David Mundy. And the interesting thing about David Mundy is that after his first season at Fremantle, he didn't play a game. He played a whole season for Subiaco and played in the premiership team. Yeah. Which is, I think that's a good lesson for young players too, not to get too sort of despondent or you think you get drafted, and he was drafted at about 16 or something, so quite early, and then you don't get a game at all. Some young players might see that as being a bad thing, but for him, he played a whole season in the Waffle, probably under Jared Schofield, interestingly enough, and then played 300 and something AFL games. So that's a good lesson.
Do we have the right players to? Actually, I know Sonny's getting the age of getting old now. Fife is getting to time of he's had enough. Is it time to retire Fife?
I don't think it's time to retire him, but we do need, I think, I noticed in one of your previous podcasts that you suggested that it'd be nice if we got Shea Bolton, and I think that's a really good point. I think that's Shea Bolton and
then Baker from Brisbane.
Who's the boy from Sydney, the Perth boy? Chad Warner.
Yeah. Need extra speed.
Yeah, speed and dynamic players.
That's what we're missing.
Yeah. So our midfield is really good. In fact,
really good.
In many ways, it's in some respects it's the best in the AFL, but
sure is.
None of them are really fast and really dynamic or great penetrating kicks.
Youngie's not bad.
Apart from from Hayden Young. But there's just that. It wouldn't take much to make us really, really good. And I think we've built a premiership style defence over a long time. Mainly it's around Alex Pearce and Luke Ryan. They would be in any premiership side over the last 10 years. And then when you've got people like Cox and Clark and Chapman, it's a premiership defence. And we've been like that, not with different personnel, we've been like that for about 5 or 6 years, I reckon.
Yeah.
And we've got the good thing about our forward line generally is it's young. With Amos and Tracy, they're very young, and they're already pretty good.
I know it's been rough this year for us. Like, I know I've been a member since 2013, and we've been losing games, like even derbies, and had a draw this year against Collingwood. I don't know how we can improve that experience, like how we can get to halfway bottom and then finish either 9th or 10th. how can we improve our game and system to improve that we can be a real contender?
I think we have really. We're now 5th, and we've lost. Yeah, with that, losing the Derby was inexplicable, and we've lost a couple of games, a couple of close ones. Sometimes unluckily, sometimes by our own hand. So I think we've improved a lot. What did we finish last year? 10th or something?
I think it's like 13th, 14th.
13th, 14th. So now we're 5th, and there's a chance. Very, very good chance we will finish in the top 4. So I think the improvement's happened already, and it's a young team, and we'll keep getting better. I'm as with many supporters, when your team loses, you feel terrible for the rest of the week, and sometimes you've got to remind yourself of that. Sometimes I'm walking around, moping around at home, thinking, what's wrong with the world, and it's not just Donald Trump. It's just, I think, oh, that's right. The reason I feel so bad is that Fremantle lost on the weekend, so you just got to remind yourself the team has to lose every now and again. But I reckon I have improved, and 5th place, they've done it. It shows.
I want your opinion. I heard on the news the other day that apparently we're losing all of our assistant coaches to West Coast, as well as Guide. What's your opinion on that, and why should we get rid of them?
We are not losing our coaches. Someone suggested that because Jamie Graham will be someone that the Eagles will think about as their coach.
Because that's his assistant coach.
Yeah, he's one of our assistant coaches, and he played for the Eagles, and he was an assistant coach there. So he's someone they'll think about. And then someone threw into the Joel Corey and Matthew Boyd just threw their names out. So that doesn't mean they're going anywhere. If you were an assistant coach at Fremantle, there'd be very little reason for you to want to be an assistant coach at the Eagles, because Fremantle are a team that's going to be playing the finals. The Eagles, well, maybe they've shown in the past they can improve, but they're not much good now. So you wouldn't go there as a career move, I don't think.
I know Alex Pears is getting that age of now, getting old now. He's done so much through the club, and he's now a Tassie boy. Would he recommend he would step away from coaching and do what Nat Fyfe did? End of this year or next year?
From the captaincy. I think he surprised everybody about what a good captain he is. He's not that old, really. So I think everyone was thinking that Brayshaw or Sarong would be the next captain. The players voted for Pearce, and they've done that twice now. And I think he's just got better and better as a captain. I think he's so. At some stage he will, but I don't think it'll be that quick. I think he's pretty good. And Tasmania might, that new team.
Would they pick him up?
It might be too late.
Since now he's a Tassie boy.
Yeah, he's a Tassie boy.
And he's from there.
Yeah, he might have some involvement, but when are they coming in? 4 years' time or something?
2026, 27?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a bit longer than that. So I think it might be too late for him. But for him, I'm sure if it aligned, if he was the right age for it, and everything that would suit him, I'm sure it'd be.
If we actually lose him, would Caleb Strong be a perfect fit for him, or Brayshaw?
Yeah, one of those two. They both just look so impressive.
Because we need voice.
Yeah. They're impressive. Both of them are. You can see that they're leaders out on the ground. And what's been interesting over the last couple of years is you can see Sarong in particular guiding Fyfe.
Yeah.
So he doesn't lack any confidence to be able to, a lot of young players that would be too intimidating to even speak to Nat Fyfe. For him to be telling Fyfe where to go on the field, not telling him off, but just saying go over there.
Go on to the other side.
That shows a degree of confidence. So I think we've got two really possible good captains there, that's for sure.
I know I've seen the last few weeks when they announced the squad, they either drop Will Brody, all these other players, why does the coach drop them? And not even get a game like Will Brody?
Yeah, it was just very hard to see where Will Brody would be in the team. He plays in the midfield, and he's very similar in the way he plays to the ones we've got there already. And he's good, because I see Peel quite a bit too, and he's good, but his strength is getting the ball out of the centre, that sort of stuff. And he's very similar to what we've got. So the good thing is, if you don't want anyone to be injured, but if anyone in the midfield got injured, we've got Brody and Erasmus who could go in and do the job, I think. So that's good.
What do you think of Jackson now we've got him from Melbourne, and now he's playing against his former club this weekend?
Yeah, I think...
With Ruck.
Yeah. I said at the end of last year that he was our best player, and potentially still is. I think it's good for him to have Sean Darcy in the team, because even though he's a ruckman, but he's against those big bulky guys. It can be a bit hard for him, because a lot of ruck work is not just jumping; it's having to push and shove, and he's not as big as some of those blokes. But I think he's going to be an extraordinary player. He's again, we forget he's very young. And also already on his CV is the fact that he virtually won a grand final for Melbourne. You might remember that Max Gawn wasn't in the ruck in the third quarter when Melbourne just took it over, and it was Luke Jackson who did that. He was just amazing in that game. So yeah, I'm really pleased we picked him up, and he'll be good, and just needs to get the balance right with got to get Sean Darcy not getting whacked in the head or hurting his knee or whatever, just good. Protecting.
So Les, you talked earlier about our draft picks. So do you think we're best to go after some players or continue with what we've done?
If it's the right player.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's Shapebolt and Chapman, it's probably unlikely. But if it's someone, the sort of player we really need in the midfield, we don't need another big forward. We don't need any defenders. Certainly don't need a ruckman. If it's the right player, then go for him. But if not, just...
And is there anyone that you're seeing in waffle level who you think would be a good addition to the list? Sorry, Aaron.
That's all right.
That's right. No, that's funny, because for a long time I used to, at the end of every year, I used to do a thing where I pretended that I was a talent scout, and I would make suggestions of people who would come out of the waffle. But this year I haven't been watching the waffle enough. There was one young player from East Perth whose name I can't remember now, but I saw him and thought, yep. And Brisbane got him in the mid-season draft. I can't remember his name yet. He only played about 2 games. But no, I haven't seen anyone that's jumping out at me, because I'm not looking at in that regard. But in the past, I suggested that Fremantle, for instance, would pick up a young player from South Fremantle named Tim Kelly, which they didn't do. And I also thought another player from Subiaco a few years ago who would be a nice one for Fremantle to pick up, Liam Ryan. But they didn't do that.
I know you're talking about Ryan.
And they could have taken them, not only could they have got them, they could have got them as rookies. And so they would have been paid not much, and we would have had them 7 or 8 years ago.
I know we've been getting all the drafts, and we're losing a lot of good players like Schutz going to Collingwood. Why did we lose all those good players, and they played a really good game against their club? Why?
Yeah, I don't know. It happens. It is interesting. I wondered why we've three of the players who have left us in relatively recent times are Bradley Hill,
Blake
Akers, Langdon. They're all wingmen, and I just wondered what it is that Fremantle doesn't value wingers or something. I don't know. But others, some players, Schultz leaving, okay, but he hasn't been that fantastic for Collingwood. And he's now playing for a team that's below us on the ladder. So he was a heart and soul sort of player, and maybe we've missed him, but we've actually gone up in the rankings this year without him. So that's the evidence isn't there that we're missing him that much.
Yeah.
It still hurts now to think that Lachie Neal was our player.
Yeah.
How did we lose him? That was a bit of a waste. But I think every team loses players, and I don't think we need to be too sort of downhearted about it, and the fact that we actually have improved this year. So
I know there's talks about Banfield leaving. Would you recommend he resigns or go back home?
Banfield,
Yeah.
he's he's from Broome. He's a local boy. And he's not a great player, but he seems like a really valuable player to have in the team. So I don't think he also is just. I don't think he's the sort who would be looking to go anywhere else. So I reckon he'll hang around. And he won't get huge contract offers or anything like that. But he'll just he's someone who has to fight for his place in the team, and he knows that. So he'll keep going. I used to watch him a lot because he played for Claremont. He was always played in the midfield for Claremont, and he used to do that pretty well. But again, and you might remember that when Ross Lyon was coach, he was a tagger for a little while. He had to, a bit like Ryan Crowley, he had to suddenly pretend he was nasty and tough, and he wasn't. Same as Ryan Crowley was lovely, but he had to pretend that he was tough and nasty. Because when he came to Fremantle, Ryan Crowley was just half forward, liked to get out, try on his own, kick goals, and then in order to survive, he had to become a tagger and get all tough. And so he became a very good actor.
I know the season's about to end soon. What could JL can do with our team to go in the draft or the trade to be a better team next year?
Just know what's needed and boost in the areas that we need, and that's that bit of dynamics. Probably another fast winger, a dynamic midfielder, and just develop along. And it's a really difficult thing because if at the club, even when the club's going really well, there'd be some players who think they're not getting a fair go because they're not getting a game every week.
So you talked a little bit about some of the players we've lost. What about some of the ones we've brought in? So like Clark and Sharp, Jackson obviously you've spoken about.
Yeah.
I think our recruiting guys have done particularly well.
James Aish is another one who's come in. That was a bit of a bonus. He's just a really steady, good player. So we've done pretty well in that. And the other thing is that you've got to be able to do that. You've got to present to the other to players from other teams that Fremantle will be a good place to be at.
Yep.
Do you listen to the podcast that Jordan Clark and
yes, I
Emerald
do. Yeah, I do that.
That's fantastic because you get a real insight into the players, and it just there is a sort of a you can see they're happy, and that's sort of that's a really good way to present the club. I reckon. Not that I imagine other players from other clubs will be listening to it, but it just gives a nice the way they're talking. People like Hayden Young and Josh Tracy, there's just something about it that they come across really well. So we're recruiting the right sort of people, not big ego guys. Every AFL player will have a big ego. They have to, but there just seems to be a down-to-earth sort of quality to them. So if you can present that somehow to the players from other clubs, then they'll think, well, that'd be a pretty good place to be.
It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on Switkowski, and I think his role is undervalued and sort of flies under the radar a bit, but I think he's a very important cog in the Fremantle machine.
I think he's sort of would be not undervalued by his teammates, Switkowski, and he actually, when he goes into the midfield from time to time, that's pretty useful when he.
He dominates.
He's got a bit of speed and a bit of a few tricks, so he's pretty good.
Like the AFL does it differently to the waffle. Why does the waffle always do it bad to the other team, not the home team? They try to favourite the Victorian clubs to Australian teams.
Yeah,
Why do they do that?
Yeah, I don't know. The whole competition is sort of still centred in Melbourne. And they've got it, and that makes sense because there's so many clubs in Melbourne. But it comes down to when the AFL came about, was plonking a team from Queensland and Western Australia into the Victorian competition.
Yeah.
So so over time that might change, but you've just got to keep out and I think this recent talk about travel has maybe opened some eyes, but just how much that Fremantle and West Coast in particular have to do, and that they, for instance, Fremantle this year having to go to Tasmania and to Alice Springs, as well as just the normal grind every second week having to go to Melbourne or Adelaide, or Brisbane. So it'll take time, but it's but we've had there was, I don't know if it still is, isn't it? We've got a West Australian as the head of the AFL, the chairman.
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem to have made much difference.
So each before each season, I can remember when we were on the board, the club actually submits to the AFL its preferred home and away preferences, and they always say we shouldn't do exactly what happened Tasmania and Alice Springs. If we could have a bit of balance, but every club puts it in, and they must listen to some more than others.